Hi, I'm Maribeth Quinn, a mixed media artist from Nashville, Tennessee, and today I'm going to use this paint over right here as my example while I talk about problem solving as an artist. Saying that there are problems with a painting used to really throw me because I thought that if I were a real artist or a good artist, then I wouldn't have problems in my paintings. I really thought that. But actually, now I see that a big part of being an artist is actually the problem solving. In fact, the first thing we do is create those problems simply by adding paint and marks and collage and different things to the surface right from the beginning. We're throwing a bunch of stuff on there that will need sorting at some point. Everyone works differently, but for me, I've realized that I need a good stretch of time where I'm not sorting. I'm only adding ingredients, if you will. Sometime later in the process is when I begin to notice problems and when I see that something's not working. And eventually, I have to address that and figure out what it is and how to change it. But I give myself a good long while before I make myself address that. There's probably a number of ways that you could choose to do that. It's not a pass or fail or a one answer sort of thing. There's probably a number of directions you could go or actions you could take on any one problem. So we get to choose. But figuring out what those solutions might be can sometimes be quite an experimental process. You might get it on the first try. You might get it on the 10th try. It's just a lot of trial and error. But here's where we really get hung up, I think. If you believe that having the problem in the first place means something bad about you or your talent level, then you're never going to enjoy that process of problem solving or invest in it in a way that you can get better at it. You just won't. We just don't do that with things that make us feel bad. Because problem solving is a skill. So like anything else, you can practice it and improve on it. I think now I try to embrace this natural part of the creative process. And when I see those problems, I generally go through everything I mentioned. Even though I'm trying to embrace it, I still go through all of those things that I mentioned, thinking that it means something about my talent or my skill, thinking that I shouldn't have problems, which is really funny when you think about it. I mean, this is one of the million ways that art process reflects life. Probably none of us would go so far as to say that we shouldn't have problems in life, but when it comes down to it, we can get really down on ourselves for having them and for not always knowing what to do about them. So when we encounter this with paintings, we can know that we're on the right track. So I'll tell you what I think some of the problems are with this painting. You may see something different. But to me, one of my main problems is this area right up here is isolated all by itself. Now, this dark area down here, it has some dark fragments that carry it over into other areas, right? So that doesn't bother me as much as this dark area that's just all by its lonesome up there in the corner. So I have some choices to make. I've got to carry it over to something. One of them, I think, would be to connect it in some way to this piece and see if that helped. One would be to connect it to this little lone thing out here to sort of carry it over. And it probably would also help to just put some dark fragments of this over in this area somewhere to carry it over. So I've got a number of things I need to do, and that's what I'll be working on next. Some paintings are just harder than others. This particular one, well, you'll see at the end. This is not going to end with a tidy little tie up of the whole story where it's a happy ending. I still, at the end of this video, don't know if this painting has sufficiently solved all its problems. I'm still thinking about it, but I did make some headway, and that's why I actually wanted to use this painting, because I really wanted to put an exclamation point on this idea that this is just part of the job. It really is a normal, natural part of the job. Some are harder than others. This one has been harder to find the rhythm. Some paintings will just naturally fall into place. You luck out, you have a harmony sort of from the start. And then others, you have to search for them. If you've seen some of my earlier videos, you've probably heard me say that one of my personal challenges with composition is that I tend to be very grid-like. Like, I like stripes. So I always add a lot of them at the first of a painting, and then usually most of them get covered over or taken out. But because of the stripes, and also because my tendency is to sort of work very horizontally and vertically, then this painting really showcases that tendency. As you can see, this sort of blue stripe in the middle is going vertically, and then this dark area is running very horizontally. And so I have to make some decisions about how I'm going to break that up. That's what I'll be working on next, because I feel like I'm pretty close on this painting, except for that really huge problem. And probably whatever I come up with to correct that problem will be some of the last finishing touches that actually make the painting come together. So now I'm just adding some things into that dark area right there in the top left, some brighter colors, and kind of trying to take that blue I'm working with right there and intrude into that area to break it up from, make it not just a block. And I'm adding other random scraps of paper. There's some printed tissue paper that I'm seeing what that looks like. Just mainly searching for something that sparks some harmony. So now, as I predicted, I've decided to cover up some of those stripes with that big, there in the bottom left. Now it's in the bottom right. That big piece of orange paper. And I'm rounding the corner to a place where I'm not quite sure if it's done, but we're close to something. I've got to stare at it for a while. Sometimes it takes me a bit to really decide if I think something is done. So it's hanging on my wall now. And here are some of the close-ups, so you can see what's going on the surface. There's a lot of interesting stuff. And like I say, not sure if I have made it all the way yet, but I'm getting there. But I've named this one Temporal Bloom. And you never know. It could be one small little mark or piece of paper. It's happened before. It just strikes a harmony. And so you never know how close you are. You never know. But hey, I have a class coming. I hope that you will join me. It is going to be an introduction to collage, learning to paint with paper. If you'd like to get on the wait list to be notified, you can find the link in the description below, along with a link to my favorite art products and materials.
So once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I love all your comments, and I just appreciate you being here.